Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to DreamWorks Switch to Life. And in today's video, we are going to be reviewing the fourth and currently final movie of the main Shrek series. That of course being Shrek Forever After. Yes, I know Shrek 5 is coming out in December 2026, but today we're going to be celebrating the 15th anniversary of that supposedly final film. And I'm just gonna say that this movie is actually super good. I really enjoyed it. Sure, we had the first movie, which was really good, and then it was made even better thanks to the sequel Shrek 2. Then there was Shrek the Third, which was definitely a drop-off. But I think a big reason for that was because the third movie didn't really focus on the relationship between Shrek and Fiona like the first and second movie did. But the fourth movie brings it all back, and we get to see the relationship between Shrek and Fiona blossom even further than it's ever been before. And that's really cool. Now, let's talk about what else makes this movie good. First off, the animation. The animation is extremely good. It's definitely progressed a lot since the first movie. And, well, it just shows. There's also the humor and jokes that made it into this movie. That was really cool as well. And, of course, there's also the music. The music was really good, especially compared to the ones featured in Shrek the Third. I loved the music in this movie, both the background music and the pop songs that were featured. I also really enjoyed the voice cast for this movie, mostly because they were all returning from the previous films, but also because Walt Dorn plays an excellent villain in Rumpelstiltskin. And of course, there's also the fact that they were just able to portray so much emotion with their characters. I really enjoyed that. And, well, now it's time to dive into the story, and the story is kind of a bit of fan fiction, but it's done so beautifully. So, first off, Shrek is tired of his life. He now has a wife and 3 kids, but they're just time-consuming. He doesn't have time to have fun for himself, and unfortunately, it's causing him to be depressed. And, well, he's going through a midlife crisis, and that's kind of sad. And this whole time, he just wants to return back to the days when he lived alone in his swamp where it was just him, and he could be as terrifying of an ogre as he wanted to be instead of this roadside attraction.
Step right up! See the dancing ogre! Don't worry, he won't bite! I used to be an ogre. Now I'm just a jolly green joke.
So, with that in mind, he goes to his kid's first year birthday party, which is really cool. But unfortunately, his frustration comes out and he ends up smashing the cake and making everybody a little nervous. And he storms out of the place, and Fiona talks to him about how he should apologize to everyone. And then Shrek complains about how he wishes his life was more simple and he wants things to go back to the way they used to be, even going so far as to say that he wishes that he never rescued Fiona from the tower. So Shrek walks off by himself, and apparently Rumpelstiltskin overheard this conversation. So in the past, Rumpelstiltskin was going to get a contract signed by the king and queen of Far, Far Away, but unfortunately Shrek rescued Fiona, so there was no need for Rumpelstiltskin to step in and rescue their daughter. But now Rumpelstiltskin has a plan to get it all back. He talks to Shrek and convinces him to sign a contract that will make it so Shrek can experience being an ogre for a day, and all he has to do is sign away one day of his life.
Well, how about the day I met Donkey? Now there's a day I'd like to take back.
I don't know who that is.
And Shrek says that he's willing to give up a day from his childhood, a day when he was a baby. You know, something he wouldn't remember. Rumpelstiltskin manages to trick Shrek into signing the contract, and when he does, Shrek is transported into a completely alternate dimension thanks to time travel or something, I guess. And now Shrek has 24 hours to experience being an ogre, and at first, it's the joy of his life. He's having a lot of fun terrorizing villagers and just being himself for once. He sees a sign with Fiona's wanted poster, and that sparks him to try to figure out what the heck is going on. So he goes home to his swamp and tries to find Fiona, but his swamp was never even discovered. Shrek ended up building the swamp back when he was a kid, and he found it. And now in this universe, the swamp was never developed. So Shrek realizes he doesn't have a home, and so that's when a bunch of witches show up and they capture him and bring him directly to Rumpelstiltskin. And, well, normally this is just because the witches are supposed to be capturing ogres so that they can turn them into slaves and labor workers. But then Rumpelstiltskin recognizes Shrek, and he reveals that the king and queen of Far, Far Away signed a contract that said that he would get to take over the kingdom of Far, Far Away in exchange for saving their daughter Fiona and making all their problems disappear. Well, like with Shrek, he twisted the contract to make it so that they would disappear as well as their problems. So, Rumpelstiltskin is the king of Far, Far Away, the real king and queen are dead, and Fiona is never rescued because, according to the contract that Shrek signed, he signed away the day that he was born. Yeah, in this universe, Shrek was never born. That means he never found the swamp, he never met Donkey, he never met Fiona, his kids don't exist. Shrek realizes that he just signed away his whole life, and he ends up trying to attack Rumpelstiltskin, and, well, he manages to escape from the witches and the army, and he kidnaps Donkey along the way, because Donkey doesn't really recognize who Shrek is, because, again, they never met. And that's when Shrek tries to convince Donkey that they are friends, but Donkey runs away in fear, and Shrek is just sad because he lost his whole life. Everything that was good for him is gone, and he only has 24 hours left to live. Donkey hears Shrek crying, and he comes back, at which point he listens to Shrek for once and realizes that Shrek might not actually be lying because Shrek says that he signed a contract with Rumpelstiltskin, and Donkey knows about the magic contracts of Rumpelstiltskin and how they can completely change the universe. So he tries to tell Shrek about the way to undo the contract and make it null and void.
And if you do it just right, it will show you what to do. There! Try lose bliss! Now who's Lou?
Give me that. True love's kiss.
So after folding it up and revealing the cure, Shrek runs to the Princess Tower and he tries to rescue Fiona, but Fiona isn't there, and he sees all of the scratch marks on the walls. She's been counting the days that she's been locked up, and he realizes that because he never saved her, somebody else must have. And, well, I'm just gonna say that it was not Prince Charming. He most likely died from the dragon. So, Fairy Godmother's master plan to take over Far, Far Away is down the drain. Also, I'm wondering what happened to Lord Farquaad in this universe. He probably just gave up and married some other princess. So with that in mind, Shrek grabs a napkin that Fiona gave him on the day that they met, and he tells Donkey, like a bloodhound, to sniff out Fiona. Instead, Donkey ends up sniffing out some waffles in the middle of the forest, and that's when it's revealed to be an ogre trap. So Shrek follows Donkey and discovers that there is an army of ogres hiding from far, far away so that they can overthrow Rumpelstiltskin. And the rebellion is led by none other than Princess Fiona. And what I really love is that in this universe, Fiona is embracing her ogre side. We never actually see her human form, but we do know that she still transforms night and day. So every night she leads the Ogre Alliance, and every day she just sleeps away as a human, I guess. So Shrek tries to convince Fiona that they're married in another universe, and it doesn't really go so well.
We're married. Hear me out. And at the birthday party with some pigs and a puppet, the villagers wanted me to sign their pitchforks. And this boy kept saying,
Do the roar, do the roar, do the roar, do it. Got it.
He's getting away. Do something. Do the roar.
Roar.
I don't like it. Do the roar. I love you, Daddy.
Then I punched the cakes that the pigs ate, and the next thing I knew, my donkey fell in your waffle hole. Right? Who's with me?
So that's when Shrek realizes he has to find a way to make Fiona fall in love with him all over again. And, well, he does his best, and eventually he manages to succeed after realizing that the best way to do it is by assisting Fiona in her cause. Oh, and he also meets Puss in Boots, who apparently in this universe decided to retire and become super fat and lazy by being Fiona's pet cat.
Feed me, if you dare.
Puss, what happened to you?
Have the years of prim and pampery made me soft?
Don't be silly. Now who's a pretty kitty?
I am.
Yeah, a little bit weird, but eh. Although that does make me wonder, why the heck did Puss decide to go live with Mama Luna in Puss in Boots The Last Wish and not return to Shrek and Fiona to kind of live with them as protection from death? That would have been a better plan. Anyway, back to Shrek Forever After. So Shrek and Fiona end up falling in love when they spar with each other, and then they have to get ready for the battle against Rumpelstiltskin, and this time Rumpelstiltskin, realizing that Shrek could destroy his whole universe, his whole plan, he realizes he needs to find some way to prevent Shrek and Fiona from kissing. So he hires a bounty hunter named the Pied Piper, who is able to use his flute to control anything and everything. And he uses his flute to control the Ogre Alliance and capture all of them, making them walk to their own cages, which is kind of sad. And, well, Donkey and Puss manage to rescue Shrek and Fiona, but unfortunately, Fiona is super upset because she unfortunately lost her entire Ogre Alliance, all because Shrek distracted her by confessing his true feelings for Fiona, and unfortunately, Shrek makes the mistake of asking Puss for advice, and that's when Fiona tries to put two and two together. She's wrong though, but she believes that the reason Shrek knows so much about her is because Puss told him everything about her and her habits. So he's just some crazy stalker, and Shrek tries to convince Fiona that if they managed to kiss, it would fix everything, undoing the whole universe by undoing his contract and save everybody. Unfortunately, they do end up kissing, but it's not true love's kiss because Fiona does not love Shrek. That's when she confesses that she wanted true love more than anything in the world, but she waited for years in that tower, waiting for a hero who never came, so she saved herself. Fiona doesn't believe in true love anymore, and unfortunately, because she doesn't love Shrek, Shrek realizes that true love's kiss is never going to work to undo the contract, and so he is going to die in just a few hours by the time the sun rises. And that's when it's revealed that because Shrek and Fiona escaped, Rumpelstiltskin put a bounty on Shrek's head, and he offers up the deal of a lifetime. No trickery, you can get anything you want as long as you bring Shrek. So it's a kind of a manhunt, and then Gingy reveals this information to Shrek, and Shrek decides to turn himself in and get the deal of a lifetime. Of course, Rumpel reveals that Shrek can't just sign a contract to undo his old contract, and so Shrek says he's not trying to get his life back. He signs the contract that Rumpelstiltskin will free all ogres. So the entire Ogre Alliance, as well as any ogre prisoners from before, are freed, except for one. Unfortunately, Shrek is captured and brought to the dungeon where he meets Fiona, and because Fiona isn't all ogre, that's the reason that she is still captured. And it's at this point that she realizes that Shrek is actually a good guy and someone who cares about everyone and doing the right thing, and that's when she starts to fall in love with him, but again, it's still too late for true love's kiss. Meanwhile, on the outside, Puss and Donkey come up with a plan. By making a ball out of the ogre shields, they manage to find a way to break into the palace the same way that Shrek busted out earlier in the movie. Rumpelstiltskin has a public execution planned where he's going to kill Shrek and Fiona using the dragon that was used to guard Fiona's tower. I guess that's why there wasn't any lava when Shrek returned in this universe. And, well, that's when Puss, Donkey, and the ogres break out of the ball, and they end up attacking the witches, and they get into a final battle with Rumpelstiltskin and his army. Also, I really love the part where Donkey tries to woo his wife Elizabeth, the dragon from the other timeline.
Is it me you're looking for? I can see it in your eyes.
Uh-oh.
But then Puss and Fiona and Shrek all work together to capture Elizabeth in a bunch of chains. And, well, by working together, Shrek and Fiona get even closer than before. Eventually, the final battle ends with Rumpelstiltskin being captured, and now the ogres are going to cook him alive. But unfortunately, that's when the sun is starting to rise and Shrek is starting to disappear because his day is up. He is going to die. And, well, he confesses his love to Fiona, and he even shares the fact that in his timeline, they have kids with each other. Farkle, Fergus, and a little girl named Felicia. And so Shrek gives a parting gift to Fiona, and the two share true love's kiss right before Shrek dies. Except for the fact that the kiss actually worked. So even though Shrek died in this universe, the kiss makes it so the universe is completely destroyed and gotten rid of. And things return back to the old timeline. And Shrek, after roaring at the party, he realizes he's back in his time with everything that has ever been good to him. He has his wife, he has his kids, and he has the love and support of the community around him. He finally realizes how good his life is, and he doesn't ever want to change anything about it.
I always thought that I rescued you from the Dragon's Keep.
You did.
No. It was you that rescued me.
Sure, at the start of the movie, Shrek was upset about the fact that he wasn't living his best life, but now he realizes that he was, in fact, living his best life. It's better to have a family and friends that love you and support you than living all alone in a swamp that fears you. And honestly, I cannot wait to see what kind of dynamic Shrek and his family have in the 5th movie, because there is very clearly a time skip in between the two films. And just like in the first movie, bringing the franchise full circle, this movie ends with the performance of I'm a Believer, and I really enjoyed that. Again, this movie is so good because it brings the series back to its roots. The first movie was about how Shrek and Fiona fell in love. The second movie was about the lengths that Shrek would go to prove his love to Fiona. And then there was the third movie, which didn't really focus on the relationship, but the fourth movie brings it full circle by making Shrek and Fiona fall in love all over again. And that is just really beautiful and a great way to end the franchise. Well, that is if it weren't for the fact that the 5th movie's coming out. But with that in mind, be sure to check out my video down below where I discuss my personal theories and predictions for Shrek 5. Granted, that video is 2 years old now and probably outdated, but still. Also, be sure to leave your thoughts down below on what you thought about Shrek 4 and if you think we even need a Shrek 5. Also, comment down below what you think the potential plot could even be about. But with all that in mind, be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you can keep up to date on all things DreamWorks. And of course, be sure to join my membership program if you want to support the channel even further. But with all that in mind, make sure that you're staying safe out there, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye-bye.
These eyes have seen a lot of love, but they never want to see another one like they had with you.
That's quite a friend you got there. I can see why you haven't eaten him.